Village life is a pleasure, below is a land, above is a sky. Cookie's corner, that's Mr. Cook. And the paper shop, now that's Mr. Patter's. And Ellie Smith will sell you the gobstoppers. Don't ever say we've nothing to buy. Sarrington's Hargreaves and Glitz at the core. It's only a village, but everyone tries. It's a small place, yet you can say that whatever they want, we'll try to supply. Work there is in Kettering, or there's a factory in Cottingham, but it's the ironworks bring most of their money. A shortage of jobs was never the cry. Some will go ploughing and towing and sewing. They're out in all weathers, the wet and the dry, but the ironworks are what matter. Without them the village surely would die. Everyone knows everyone else. That's to Mr. Payne who lives in the big house. To those of us who work in the works, be you ever so low or ever so high. Meet at the church, or the scouts or the hall. And with newcomers coming, we'll all have to try to be welcoming. And whatever we think, we'll do our best to hide.
And if we like you, you can buy some. We came to Corby, joined its party, 50,000 pale and hearty. This is the town that you must see. When you do, you'll never leave. Mothers, fathers, sons and daughters of Stuarts and Lloyds as their employers. These works are the best, we should know. We in the town have made it so. Jobs may come and jobs may go, but ours will go on forever. Iron, steel and tubes we make, and if we like you, you can buy some. When the rumours are killed and the work's almost built, there must be no room left for doubt. For the candle must burn and the tube mills must turn, and the turn in the middle of a crowd. The chairman has said, without water we're dead, without water our future is grim. So we down the light brook, and with the water we took, we filled the reservoir up to the brim. We've come too far now to let the steelworks run dry. It's too late to think of defeat. Corby depends on its water supply. Water makes Corby complete. We've come to this town with no water around, and the steelworks to run and supply. We couldn't have gone far with no reservoir. The steelworks must never run dry. With the rumours all killed and the works almost built, there must be no room left for doubt. For the candle must burn and the tube mills must turn, and turn in the middle of the crowd. We've come too far now to let the steelworks run dry. It's too late to think of defeat. Corby depends on its water supply. It's the water makes Corby complete. We've come too far now to let the steelworks run dry. It's too late to think of defeat. Corby depends on its water supply. It's the water makes Corby complete.
I know the story goes that Corby was peopled by Glaswegians, but my dad was from Aberdeen. He was one of the many fish workers that moved to Corby in the 50s and 60s. There was a noticeable Aberdeen community. There was one meeting place, customs and the language. But we soon fitted in, and over time, like with any newcomers, we lost some of our distinctiveness. Mind you, I well remember taking two of my bairns back home for the first time. Look on their faces when they heard me talking to the taxi driver at Aberdeen Station in the language of my childhood. It sounded like a foreign language to them. People came to Corby from all over, a real Heinz 57 varieties. Every one of them in search of a job and a decent house, yet each with their own unique story. Betty came from Perth in 1956, when her railwayman father got a job in the works. The family of five lived in a caravan in Burton Latimer at first, a bit of a squeeze when all's said and done, but they settled into their own house in Corby within a year. A house of your own was one of Corby's biggest attractions, far better than living in a tenement, own families to a bathroom, or having to live with your parents when you got married. Josie and her family hailed from Ireland. She grew up in Sussex, spent early married life as an army wife in Germany, and then settled in Corby in 1969. Then there's Bridie. She visited her brother in Corby in 1960 on the way back to Ireland from New York. She found him settled in a town with a future. The rest of the family followed shortly afterwards. Corby was a place hard-working people moved to, often from communities with no prospects. There was a growing Irish community which tended to supply the labourers who worked to build the town as it grew. Mass for the Catholics was held in St Brendan's School, a sure way to meet others and keep your culture alive. Eventually they built both a clubhouse and a church. This pattern was repeated by most of the newly arrived communities, whatever the religion, as you can see from the number of both clubs and churches across Corby. Margaret arrived from Aberbargoed in the Welsh Valleys in 1960. Her dad had come here for the steelworks along with a few other Welsh miners. He was a Bevan boy, conscripted to the mines during the World War years. He was honest about the work he'd done before, whereas some of his mates made out they had the necessary skills. Guess who got the better jobs? He already had coal dust in his lungs. Industrial diseases plagued those working in the works. Many men were left permanently suffering or succumbed to early death. And finally, Lorraine, who was born in Corby. Polish father and Anglo-Italian mother. A lot of Poles, Latvians, Lithuanians were caught in the crossfire of World War II and ended up here as displaced persons. And of course, there were Italian prisoners of war, American servicemen, and all adding to the ethnic mix that gives Corby its vibrancy.
Homesick. Oh, you'll soon get used to it. Think about a house and a job and a future for your children.
That's your head talking, is my heart's hurting.
Tell me about it.
Well, I miss my mother and sister for a start. They stayed in Swansea. At least they have each other and the sea and things to do. And I miss hearing Welsh and speaking Welsh. Don't you miss your family?
Sure I do. We all do. I know it seems like a terrible sacrifice just now. I know it's quite a sacrifice at the start. But think about the family.
But I am doing. Every time I open a drawer or a tin of sweets, I find these letters from Carol saying that she misses her friends and hates at the new school.
There's not much for them to do down here, sure enough. And if they go out to play, they come in filthy and covered in dust. I can't even get my washing clean here. God knows what's in the air.
Well, I know there's iron, because my Robert comes in with iron filings on his magnet. They should enjoy the fair, though.
That's if he remembers to leave out the free tickets.
Is Emin on nights?
Why do you think I'm round here? It's like a bleeding war round there. I'm creeping about trying not to wake him up. I even put a blanket at the window today. He said the light was keeping him awake. You know, I dread the kids coming in from school. They're dying to let off a bit of steam, and I have to keep telling them to shush. And you know, I have to be up ever so early in the morning to see to his feet before he goes to bed. Them clogs may save their feet, but they have his heels rubbed raw.
Do you know, I worry about my Tom's urine. When he's at home, he shouts at me as though I'm deaf. He doesn't even know he's doing it. And Mr. Mitchell next door, God, I can hear everything he says to Jean and the rest.
Is it still as bad around there?
Mostly at weekends when he's had a drink.
It's the kids I feel sorry for. I remember my dad doing that to my mum when I was little. I used to huddle under the bedclothes with my eyes shut tight, willing him to stop.
She won't talk about it though. Says she fell down the stairs. Anyway, listen to me. Do you want a cuppa?
So I could never ask. Did Tom bring many vegetables from his allotment?
Yeah.
There's 14 men working on the side of a furnace, and the gas creeps upon them like some deadly weed, when the only thing to save them has to be brought from London. Can saving only 10 men compensate for the greed? Here the accidents are many, no matter how large or small. When one man has gone, there's 10 more to take his place. Now Corby has its mortuary, and the works they help to fill it. How many years must pass till somebody cares? The unions are trying, the works is getting safer, and mostly we only lose limbs instead of lives. But what about the ghost shift, who will never leave here? Will they wander the site long after we've gone?
That's Archie, my man. We'd have been married 25 years, the more. Came down to Corby when they shut the works down up in Glasgow. Said they needed people for the jobs. Why they couldn't have just built another works up there's a mystery to me. But no, moved the people down to another country. Thousands of us. Men first and then the women and the wains. What a bloody upheaval. Living without your man, bringing up your wains and your ain. Well, he's down here with the rest of the men living in a camp. Nothing to do but drink and fight. Without us women to keep them in order. Know that I didn't deserve a wee dram after a hard day's graft. And this hellhole. Stories my Archie used to tell me. Oh, the heat, the thirst, the noise, the accidents. Well, that's how I lost my Archie. He was one of the men that fell into the molten steel when the planks gave way. Oh, I got that nice letter of compensation, nice letter from the Stewarts and Lloyds. But that and the wee drap compensation could never replace a feather or give me back my man. The works was good to us in many ways. Steady job with a future. Highest paid work round here. Best bunch of pals a man could ask for. Aye, they were there for me and the Waynes after the accident. But then the whole tune's like that. I suppose we're just like one big clan. No matter where you came from, you left a lot behind. Friends, family, your own house, familiar way of life, even a language. There are enough Scots down here to make you forget it's England sometimes, but you know, up the road, no one ever asked me to slow down because they couldn't understand what I'm saying. Why don't I go back? No future for the Waynes. No jobs. He's tired of her work. My Tam, he's already done the tube works. My Alec, my second eldest, he'll be straight down there when he leaves school. Now, he will only be getting a man's wage till he's 21. At least it's another wage packet coming in the house. And my Fiona, she'll be next. And no just the offices of the cleaning for her. No, she'll have a choice. Taking women down on the shop floor now. Mind you, if she carries on the way she's gone with that young Jamie, she'll be starting a family before a job. Now listen to me yapping on, blathering away like there's no tomorrow. You people have a lot to see in day and night. So on you go.
I was the youngest woman working in the steelworks in Hartlepool. 24 years old I was. My job was as a tally woman. I used to have to lean over and mark the white hot steel as it came out. I never had any hair at the front of my forehead, because I didn't like to wear the protective cap that we had to wear right down over our eyes. Silly when I think about it now. Back then, I had my looks to think about. They were paying us women off, just like after the war. Training up the lads we were. They were even cheaper than us to employ. Anyway, how did I come to be in Corby? My husband told me he got an interview for a fuel technologist with Stewarts and Lloyds. He said he had to come to Corby, and that was the first time I'd ever heard of the place. Anyway, he got the job, and we came down here in 1965. We were offered a staff house out here in East Carlton Park. You like them? I'd have gone stir crazy out here in the sticks. I was a townie. So we went for one of the new houses on the Lincoln. Yes, you heard me right. From Sour Lees to Grantham Walk, it's known as Snob Hill. The architect won all sorts of awards. One of them should have been, how many women can you condemn to a life of misery award? Each of us there in solitary confinement, never seeing another soul from one day's end to another. There was no doorstep culture there, no over-the-fence chat. You'd have needed a 6-foot-high ladder for that. Some days I used to sit at my front door, hoping that someone would pass by. They never did. In the end, I went to my doctor's. I was that depressed. Oh, the Valium estate, he said, and handed me over a prescription. Later, it became known as the Lincoln Blues. Back home, me and my mum, we belonged to a ladies' club, so I got to thinking that we could do with something like that here. The council gave us a house, a bungalow actually on Lincoln Way, and pretty soon we had 2 days of activities there. It wasn't till us women got talking together that we realised we were all in the same boat. It wasn't just the isolation, but the lack of facilities, the long haul to the town and back again, and the schools stuck out in the middle of the field like the Lone Ranger. So we did something about it, and once we got going, there was no stopping us. We soon outgrew that bungalow. The council gave us 2 shop units on Canada Square, and before too long, we had playgroups, 1 o'clock clubs, all sorts of social activities. And after 3 years, it became a licensed club. I moved away from the estate for a while, but I missed it so much. I missed the sense of community that we created. I missed the trees. I missed the lack of traffic. So I moved back again. Oh, I've seen some changes. From the maple leaf, to the square peg, to the leaf, from the golden cockerel to the Lincoln, and from the day the Chief High Commissioner opened Canada Square to the knocking down of the houses on Lincoln Way earlier this year. And what about the Valiant state? The worst state of all. Well, I've raised my family here. It's where I live. It's my home.
Do you know, I've only been here 6 months. Feels like longer though. I came here straight from school. Why the Plugmill canteen? I failed my A-levels. A friend of mine, she did really well and she's gone off to uni. And I've just been to my other friend's wedding, but I'm not ready for that yet. So I applied for a job down here at the works, assistant cook. Thought it would be a doddle. Oh, how wrong was I? I guess I didn't think of the size of things on an industrial scale. This is just one of many canteens, works, staffs. Because I'm quite strong, I have to do all the heavy lifting. I work a 6 to 2, and then I do 2 to 10. I hate 2 to 10. It's just a waste of a day. 6 to 2, I love them. Oh, many a morning I've seen the sunrise on Sowerleys Road after a cracking all-night party at the Lincoln somewhere. Quickly dropping at home, straight over the flyover, clocking at work just about 6 o'clock. Still got my fur coat on mind, and usually with a hangover. I'm sure at the beginning the other woman wondered who did I think I was swanning around in that thing. And handling 24 eggs at one time with a hangover? That's not easy feat either. Or the toaster, or burns on my arms from the grills. I do the breakfast most. Egg and bacon double-decker, sausage, egg and bacon double-decker, sausage and egg double-decker, and loads of toast. Big men, big appetites, lots of toast. We do other food here as well though. You can have pie chips, or you can have grey cabbage, mashed potato by the bathful. We do puddings as well. Lottie does homemade soup and pudding. Or apple crumble and custard. Gallons of the stuff. Trying to drop a bat in the hot water without dropping your fingers? Now that's an art. There's a lot of skill involved in this job. I've learned how to wring a dishcloth properly and how to mop the floors. It's not easy. They're so greasy you have to soak them first. The other women, they taught me that. They're ever so good. And there's some right characters. There's Lottie singing away with her dishcloth tails in her pinny. Or there's Nora with her nicotine-stained hair at the front. Or Peggy in a little kiosk, she sells sweets and cigarettes. It's just the size of a little cupboard. Or Florence Winstanley, she's a chip fryer. She gave me a garnet ring for helping her with the chips. Sometimes I have to empty the vending machines, or I go on the tills. That's my favourite job. The men upstairs, they send their apprentices down, big boxes for food, or they'll come down themselves if there's lots of overtime on. You should see the size of the queue. And the food's free, so I'll take their names then rather than the money. You'd be surprised the amount of men here with missing fingers. I met my boyfriend here. He's an apprentice. He'd come down for his lunch, sit all by himself, and I sneak in the kiosk and have a look at him. Dark and mysterious. I'm part-time barmaid down the Domino as well. He came in once, and we started talking. I knew I didn't want to spend the rest of my life frying eggs, no matter how good the company was. So we're going to go travelling, going to the south of France. It wasn't until I got my passport the other day, and I wrote Assistant Cook on it, that I decided I want more from life. Next time, I'm going to write photographer.
She's the size of a house. I reckon she's carrying a boy. She's all in front.
She looked at her mum down here.
She is.
When I was expecting her first, I had nobody, and I didn't have a clue.
Oh, that's a shame. And we'd all that way over to Carlton too, didn't we? At least we've now got a maternity unit.
My cousin lost one of her twins back in 1947. Remember that real bad winter? There's the snow and the roads were all snowed up. The time they got to the hospital, the baby was dead.
Oh. Get the kettle on, I'm frozen. Tea's ready.
Oh,
Wouldn't you like to do a bit of work first?
oh, just wait a minute, I'll warm up.
Tea? Yeah. Usually. We'll have a cup of tea. Right. Have you put in for Maggie yet?
Oh, money's a wee bit tight this week.
Thanks.
I'll get it next week, I promise. You know, there's this young lass on the bus, and she was sitting in my seat, the cheek of it.
Oh.
Is this the,
Oh, come in, lass, it is. Come in, we don't bite. Are you new?
You're a wee bit late, aren't you?
Yeah, my dad told me to follow the lads, so I did. Right into the showers.
Oh dear.
So how did you get back?
Oh, well, one of the lads was kind enough to give me a lift to his truck.
Very good.
So, ladies, are we coming or going?
Coming.
Going.
Come on.
I sincerely hope you intend to do some work this evening, or perhaps you intend to stay later to make up for the late start. For goodness sake, ladies, get a move on.
Let's get started. You get the glass and I'll show you the room.
Sissy, read my tea leaves for me.
I'm in a bit of a row with somebody small.
What, is that it?
That's all for tea then, yeah?
Best get back to reading that book your daughter got you. I never fall out with anybody. You know, I still wash my floors, my hands and knees. I don't want a bucket like that for Christmas. You never know, Santa might remember me.
There's one out in the yard.
I know, I've seen it.
Well, why don't you take it home with you?
Oh, could I steal it?
That wouldn't be theft. For goodness sake, it's been out there for ages.
Well, how would I clock out with that in my hands?
Don't worry about the clocking out, I'll do that for you.
Oh, that's awful good of you, Sissy. Mind you, I have to walk and it would be snowing, but never mind.
Well, that's me finished. I'll way down the canteen for some chips. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Bye-bye.
I'm glad I don't have to eat off her table. If her house is as slutty as she is.
Oh, she means well. Don't do what she does, love. Rinse your mop out in clean water.
Are you lot still here? Well, this has been dry as broken. I'll never get these dry in this weather.
Good neighbours is on the warpath.
Anyway, I'm down at the Cork ovens, so if I'm not here, she will know they belong to you, will she?
She would.
Rather her than me. Aren't you forgetting your bucket?
I did, Sissy. Good thinking. See you tomorrow.
She'll be calling herself Liza by tomorrow. That bucket's full of holes.
There's a hole in my bucket, dear Liza, dear Liza. There's a hole in my bucket, dear Liza, I'm home.
That's my granddad. My whole family were in the works.
missed out on redundancy though when it shut. He'd been contracted out. Apparently, he used to go out every day, 6 o'clock in the morning, on his bike, for about 8 months. Eventually, he found a job in Weetabix. His sister got him in though. It's not what you know, it's who you know. You'd have thought, having such a big family and no money coming in, it would have been a real problem. But my mum says she never had an unhappy childhood. It was the opposite, in fact. She says it made them all realise what was important. Family. It's partly the Irish thing, I guess. Coming from so many different countries, people used to set up their own little communities. That's why we got the Irish Centre, the Scots have got the Grampian. And I go up the Irish Centre, still now. Family parties, weddings, wakes. My nana and granddad go up every Wednesday to the Young at Hearts Club, OAP Club more like. Well, she came over in 1958, and apparently he couldn't live without her, so he followed 3 months later, and that's why we're here. My mum was still at school when she had me, but her sisters, she had 4 of them, and her nana, my nana, her mum, used to look after me, so it meant she could go out and get a job. And she did want to go to do her exams at school, but the school wouldn't let her. They were very strict. Well, back in them days, and it being a Catholic school. She did business studies at night school though. She did really well. She graduated, got a degree, with honours. That's my mum. I tried to go to college in Northampton. I wanted to do performing arts. There's not much for you in Corby in the way of education, unless you want to be a beautician or a hairdresser, and I don't. So I used to have to get the bus, 6 o'clock every morning, just to get there by 9. I fell asleep most mornings on that bus, and then I wasn't in until gone 7. It was a nightmare. But in the end, me and a few of the girls, they were in the same boat. We just got ourselves a little student flat. And it was great at first, I loved my course. But it was hard work. You never realise how much things cost. I had it easy when I was at home. People think students are scroungers as well. During the summer holidays, I used to work in my mum's pub. That's where I met the love of my life. He turned my world upside down. And I did try to go back to college after the summer was over. But it was hard juggling money and college work and my Saturday job and my new relationship. So I quit in the end. I had things I needed in Corby though.
Out of the job.
My mum quit the pub trade, left me out of a job, and there wasn't much agency work going. I looked, but it was hard. Eventually, my mum paid for me to get married, which was nice of her. And I found a job at Avon, but my auntie got me in there. It's not what you know, it's who you know. It's harder for the men though. Not so long ago, they'd have been straight down the works. And there's not really apprenticeships anymore, not like in the old days. How do they learn to be men when they haven't got a trade? Scrabbling for a job at an agency, 1 day a week. They're not even able to be providers. My husband struggled like that when he left school. About 1 day a week he got. Can't live off that. Eventually he did get a break as a fencer. Oh, and he loved it. He'd be out all day, working hard. He could see the fruits of his labour, felt a real sense of achievement at the end of the day. He was dog-tired when it came in as well. Good, honest work. And I found I kind of liked that little wifey role. I used to have his bath run and his dinner cooked when he came in. I had to learn to cook. Couldn't feed him bean toasties like I'd eaten at college. At that time, we were living with his mum while we were waiting for a council house. It did make us all closer, but I had to. We were so overcrowded. And eventually, we got a flat, which I really love, but it's a lot smaller now we've had our son. Apparently, I have to wait 5 years for a house. I don't know who made up that rule. We got married, we got a house, and then we had a child, and that makes us ineligible, apparently. Don't know who made it up, but I'm going to give him a piece of my mind when I find him. Things are getting better, though. My man's training to be an electrician. In 3 years' time, we'll be raking it in. So, I've built my own little family. I've got my mum and my dad and my sister just round the corner. My husband's family down the road. My nan and granddad not so far away. Cousins, aunties and uncles. I've got my fair share of babysitters. Well, when they bother. When I was 16, I couldn't wait to leave this town. But now, I don't know what I'd do if I wasn't here. I know people hate Corby. Everybody thinks badly of it. But I know the truth. I love it here. It's my home.
I grew up in the shadow of the steelworks. They say that goldfish only grow as big as the tank they're in. Well, to me, Corby was always like a really small goldfish bowl. And I wasn't happy being stunted. I knew I had to get out and do something other than just stay in Corby and work some crap factory job. And I definitely wasn't going to bring up my kids here. What chance would they have being brought up in this tiny stagnant pond? Imagine if we'd have had a big lake full of life. How big we'd all have grown then. Well, I suppose it wasn't always that bad. I didn't know Corby was any different from any other town until I was old enough to go out with my mates. And the shops were all right then too. Well, if you're a girl, if you were unlucky enough to be male, you had no chance of shopping in this town. We used to go swimming every single week. Then we'd sit in the cafe afterwards and chat. All that exercise followed by chips and 4 bars of chocolate. We had the cinema then too. Had my first date there. I was 14. Went to see The Lion King. And I cried. Had to pretend I had something in my eye. And we had the Laser Quest. That was good. Didn't last long though. The cinema went. The laser went. Shops shut down to be replaced by card shops. What is that about? How many cards does one town need? Although we did used to go in at Clinton's and read all the jokes in the cards. Had to amuse ourselves somehow. You know, it's funny, but it was actually a blessing in very heavy disguise that my stepdad was so strict. I never sought amusements in parks with bottles of cider or even worse, drugs. I was too scared of getting caught. But I can see why so many kids went off the rails. It wasn't just a case of popping downtown for a few hours. Getting to Ketron was a mission. They had the shops and KLV and the Odeon. But it took too long to get there. You had to wait ages for the bus. And even then it was a hike to KLV. What were kids supposed to do with all that pent-up energy? Mix that with teenage hormones, and that's just a recipe for disaster. It's bound to happen. Both parents were working low-paid, long-hour jobs to make ends meet, and we were left to raise ourselves. Latchkey kids, that's what they used to call us. It meant we were all heavily influenced by each other. Kids leaving kids. Well, eventually we started to get a reputation for ourselves. Corby kids, hard, mean, always looking for trouble. Always looking for something to do more like, or some guidance. It wasn't just bad kids who got in trouble, and kids from really good homes who ended up getting arrested for stealing, vandalism, sometimes even drugs. And girls who got pregnant and even turning violent. There was gang warfare all over town, fighting over turf. Nobody even tried to stop the fights neither, not after what happened to that Louise Allen. We had to get police escorts home after school when that happened. You killed one of ours, so we're going to get one of you. I think it'd make them stop and think, but it didn't. It just got worse. Someone always has to pay in this town. Never-ending cycle of blame and violence. I really started to hate this town. Just had a really oppressive feel about it. We're at the top of loads of statistical studies. Nothing to be proud of or anything. There's teenage pregnancy, illiteracy, alcoholism, mental health problems, depression, all caused by mass unemployment and a failing sense of civic pride and self-worth. What a legacy. Aspiration just wasn't a word recognised by my peers. But I was lucky. I came from a family who really believed in the value of education, and they were constantly reminding me that anything was within my reach. They can't take what's in your head. That's what my granddad used to say. The conflicting messages came from my stepdad, who suffered from depression. He thought I should aim a little lower. He said I had too much imagination. He wanted to bring me back down to earth, where apparently our careers advisor lived. She tried to discourage me from taking any kind of creative route. But office work, now that was okay. Oh, except for my complete lack of computer skills, you mean? Oh, but I'd looked the part, well, that matters. Oh, my granddad was right. You can't take knowledge, dreams and ambitions away. Not if you really believe in them, and I did. I still do. I tried really hard at school. I knew my only way out of Corby was via university. But it was so hard. You know, the grant system was scrapped the year before I left. I knew so many people who wanted to go, but they just couldn't afford it. But means testing worked for me. It meant I got my fees paid for me. Still had to get a student loan though. Debt. Great way to start out in life. But I'm out there, and I'm doing it. Little fish in a big pond. And you know what? I love it.
When we first heard about closures, we all stood together. We knew that there would be no future for the town and for our children if the steelworks closed, and we thought we could fight it.
The Rosac Committee organised a whole lot of events. There were trips back and forth to London. We lobbied BSC wherever we could find them. And coaches went down to London to support our men who had walked all the way there to hand in the petition. Corby's own Jarrow-style march.
There was no need to persuade and to cajole workers to strike in the September of 1979 when it was decided to bring the whole town to a halt. The walkout here at the works was solid.
The whole community stood right behind us. Schools brought their students out, and mums with babies in prams and pushchairs, they joined in the march too.
Young and old, united in the simple knowledge that without its heart of steel, our town would die.
The Chamber of Commerce agreed to close down the town. Nothing moved, nothing opened. We reckon that was the first time that anything like it had ever happened in this country.
And we weren't alone. Local unions like the post office workers and the shop workers came out in support. Miners, dockers, car workers and steel workers from all over the country came to Corby to show their solidarity.
Well, they knew they could be next. If the closures went ahead in Corby, they knew it could be them next.
The police were on red alert. Remember, this was 1979, before Greenham Commons, before the miners' strike, and before police in riot gear were a common sight. For the union reps to get into a meeting with British Steel, they had to get through a 4-thick police cordon.
They needn't have worried. A whole town out on the streets, and not one bit of trouble.
What was it like?
Come outside, and we'll show you.
Many of you that were around at the time will recall that clarion call that went out almost in every demonstration that we had, especially those linked to the Save Steel Corby campaign. There was a person, or a woman, that's been depicted in the play tonight, a senior member of the ISTC representing the canteens, etc. She was known to us as the Bionic Tea Cozy. Where she got the name from, I'm not quite sure, but it was reputed that it was because of the headgear that she used to wear. It resembled a tea cozy. But she led all the parades, and she used a megaphone just like that, and it was electrifying when she started off, because everybody got in behind her and gave it hell for leather. Her name was Karen. Karen McGilvery was her name when she got fired again. Most of you would know her as Karen Lockett. And she was a representative of the ISTC. Following the decision by the AEC to impose quotas for steelmaking purposes on Corby, it became quite clear that the quotas were going to lead to eventual closure. And sure enough, closure became the byword of the day. And from that sprung an organisation called ROSAC, Retention of Steelmaking in Corby. Jim MacDonald was the secretary. Was secretary, Jimmy, of ROSAC. I was one of the marchers that marched, well, Jimmy and I both marched in the march to London. But out of ROSAC sprung a mammoth demonstration, and the voice of the people was heard throughout Corby and the countryside around it and as far as London by the demonstrations that took place. And it was a very well organised campaign, and everybody supported it. The government didn't take any notice of it, but everybody supported it. But I have to remind people that at the end of the day, the decision to close the steelworks was taken to our shame, because we were members of the Labour Party and we were trade union officials, and that decision was taken by a Labour government. Now, it could have been changed at the end of the day. Maggie Thatcher, when she came along in the election, could have changed that, but she didn't. When she comes out here, I want you to ask her why she didn't change it, because she had an opportunity to give...
This is the first demonstration I have ever been on. And I can assure you, it will be my last.
Maggie, Maggie, Maggie! Maggie, Maggie, Maggie!
Let us make way for the future.
From the ashes you will rise like a phoenix, and you'll thrive. Lots of new jobs, clean and smart. Women now can play their part. Enterprise, that's where it's at. Poor Maggie dear, we'll eat her hat.
Ladies and gentlemen, the prize fighter of Wonderworld.
This is Wonderworld, a £367 million leisure project which its backers say will provide 3,000 jobs. It's received the personal support of Mrs. Thatcher. Group 5, the developers, promise a unique family day out, an all-the-year-round combination of Disney-style theme park and nursery rhyme fantasy. But Wonderworld has seen deadlines come and go, and it remains a plastic model. With the depression still biting deep, more women are looking for work. Many of Corby's new jobs have gone to them and not to the ex-steel.
It's women's work and we come real cheap. Part-time, part-paid, bottom of the heap. Pin money? Well, that's a joke. Slogging your guts out for one more blow. Working all day for the capitalists and then back home to do another shift. No one noticed the work we did. Packing and cleaning and raising the kids. The last to be hired and the first to be sacked. Disposable workers off the rack. And men kept the men's jobs just for the men, while we get the scrag ends all over again.
Every day is depressing, and you see job losses every day on the television. We've been wiped out.
We worked on your looms and your rolling mills, toiled in your shipyards to pay our bills. In your deep-sea mines we sweated blood. Night shift, day shift, you screwed us good. Picked your fruit and ploughed your land, built power stations and hydro dams. Schools, hospitals, motorways, we sold our lifeblood to earn our pay. Now you pull it out, the future's gone. The Seoul, Jakarta, Beijing, Taiwan. God save the Queen and the Union Jack. Like the factory gates, we're up for scrap.
Efter 4 år hos Nat Bedusking.
I've been up and down here for years now, trying to look for a job, and I haven't found one yet.
Is it difficult for someone like you to get a job?
Well, I don't think I'll ever work again, to tell you the truth.
We laboured with craft.
We laboured with skill.
Now we queue at the job club with time to kill.
Jobs on security now and again.
Chicken pluckers.
And lollipop men.
You can train to wash dishes.
You can train to clean.
Or be a brain surgeon on some
bloody
scheme.
When the training's done it.
Sorry, Chuck.
No jobs here.
Shove off.
Tough luck. 10 quid a day.
No holiday pay. No cars, no union. No bloody way. We sold our lives to the big machine.
And we're left with nothing but
broken dreams. Broken dreams. Broken dreams.
£3.60 an hour. Paid buttons for money. £2.75 per hour. Buttons for money.
£2.5. £2.5. That is disgusting.
£1.74 an hour.
Below union rates.
40p a skirt.
Union rates. 10 pence for putting a zip on.
Disgusting.
2,600 rupees a day. Treated like dirt. $1.25. Treated like dirt.
6p an hour.
Minimum wages.
0.3 pence per solder joint.
That is disgusting. Disgusting.
Because I think you'll find that a lot of people in the town, especially unemployed people, are looking for not cheap jobs, not jobs with low pay.
Dear sisters, you'll be very welcome to come and talk to us about how we've survived since the closure of the steelworks. We're having a do next Saturday, as it looks like both Glassoughton and Lexton Luck Pits are on the hit list for closure.
See, I knew they'd be next.
Yes.
Thank you for your support and all your kind donations. We are taking the kids to Scarborough on a trip with the money.
Oh, that's something.
In solidarity, Susan Perry, Secretary, Castleford Miners Support Group. So we have to practice what we want to say to them.
They want us to talk.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which shows how it's done.
You should post on.
4 years on, and where have we got to? Men at home watching the TV or down the pub, being expected to adapt to making the dinner instead of making steel. Their self-esteem gone. Role as breadwinner, provider, man changed forever. While we women, we work all the hours God sends. Some cowboy firm that's going to up sticks when the subsidy runs out.
Yeah.
Jobs for women are plenty. This lot, they get away with part-time hours and pay us less. And any hint of a union organisation and we're out the door. But you lot won't fight it. You're too desperate to hold down your job. We need the money. The workers' right group, they're outside the factory leafleting, trying to get a foothold. But the unions have been silent since the works closed. We're left out of discussions about bringing new jobs to the town. We don't want jobs at any price. We want new jobs, secure jobs, not ones just moved here from elsewhere. The union was a way of life down the works. We had a support network, benefits, a community. Now it's everyone for themselves. I'm all right, Jack. Divide and rule. And that's what I'll tell them.
Right. Oh, well, I think I'd like to tell them, because they have started, or Maggie has started on the miners now. And we know what it's like to have the guts ripped out of our community by that butchery in McGregor. So the least we can do is give them our support. They were there for us when we needed them. I'm out most nights collecting food for the striking miners, and we women have got a committee together to bring their kids down for a holiday, just as ours went up there for a wee break when we needed it.
Go, girl.
And I bet they've got the same battles going on in their families as we had in ours. Families been ripped apart. Brothers still not speaking, with one man striking and another relative scabbing. And they still don't speak even now. Well, of course it's the principle. I can't believe people don't understand the need for solidarity. But then, I suppose we all had our valid reasons for doing what we did. It was damned hard living without the money, despite the veggies from the wholesalers and the food parcels.
Couldn't manage without them.
I remember my Frank delivering a food parcel to one striker, older woman, lived on her own, no family support. The next week we'd heard she'd killed herself. Oh my God. Pulled the electric fire into the bath with her. Just totally overwhelmed at all the hassle with the strike. And it's the selfish bastards I can't understand. The ones that didn't even try. The boss's darlings. Well, I'm going to tell the miners, and I hope they realise that when the redundancy money runs out, no matter how many noughts it's got on the end of it, they're left with nothing. No industry, no future. That's what I'll be telling.
It's the kids I worry about. The idea of a proper job, a job for life, comrades, workmates, common skills and trades that bind us together are gone. Call that progress? It's backwards it's called, not forwards. Back to the days when the dockers stood in pens on the docks, waiting to be offered a day's work.
My granddad used to tell me about that.
These new agencies, they're a rip-off. They make a huge profit out of every worker that they send on a 13-week training scheme. No ties to the employer though. No sick pay, holiday pay, maternity pay, no security.
No responsibility. Yeah, it's scary.
My mate went for a job. There was 3,000 applicants for 70 jobs.
That's what we're up against, isn't it?
You can take and pick and choose, can't we?
Things are definitely getting worse.
Well,
These kids are off school and your husband is at home. He can look after the kids for you, or you go out to work. I don't like that though. That used to be family time.
So what can you do? What can you do? Kids have to look after themselves, don't they?
Well, yes.
Some of them don't.
Very often the two of you were out at work, and the kids looked after themselves. They brought themselves up actually. No wonder there's so much drugs and teenage conflicts.
I'll tell you about my man. He's nearly done. He's went for retraining. He's nearly done as an accountant.
Oh my God.
Sometimes I really have to pinch myself. What a journey. From blast furnaceman using his bulk, his body and his brawn. He's a big man, is my Ernie. To an accountant.
Whoa.
Mind you, I'm surprised he still has the brains left to do it with after the amount of drinking he did with all his redundancy pay. I tell you what, that nearly split us up, it did. Well, I'd just finished a degree myself. I was sick of being thought of as thick. So I went back to school. I graduated the same day that closure was announced. I brought up 3 kids and then decided it was my turn.
Good on you.
I'd hoped I'd be able to get better wages, better than the pin money they give us here. We don't even get equal wages. And you can forget about graduate employment.
Tell me about it.
So much for getting an education to better yourself. And now I'm worried, in case he doesn't get a job at the end of his course. I mean, an accountant. Surely that's a middle-class profession. He's going to need some experience. How's he going to get that? How's he going to make the contacts? I had hoped that this would give him a better control over the family purse. But no, it's going to fall to me, as usual, to balance it all up.
Well, you've got something balanced up with a table, man.
Be all right.
My Johnny was made redundant. £20,000 he got.
Oh my God.
£20,000. We could buy a house.
We only got by.
Well, he thought he'd invest it in the bookies. You know, we had nothing. Nothing. Anyway, I'm the breadwinner now.
No,
Full time I work. And that lazy tour won't lift a finger to help me in that house. Not a finger. But the gamble is not a new thing. He's always done it. Always. We had nothing. for me, the kids. Nothing. Folks used to look down on us, but I was every bit as good at my kids as anybody else. Was it my fault I was married to a gambler? I don't know, I stuck him anyway. You know, on a Friday, well, not just me. Some of us, when we went down the works office, we got a bus up the town, 12 o'clock, special aid on, down to the wages, to get the money before the men drunk it, or in my case, they gambled it. You know, some of the men were too ashamed to go home. You know, they lost the money. So the mates would bring them in some food and sleep the shop floor. We'll make you laugh. They get word to the wife, I'm working overtime my foot. But anyway, many a couple came to blows about the money getting pissed up against the wall. You know, it's just, what? Saturday night, oh.
Yeah. Oh, we've heard.
Oh, no, that was Radio Club night. Oh, it was great. It's some fantastic nights up there, I'll tell you. But it wasn't unheard of for folks to go off with somebody else, you know. No, I just enjoyed myself. But never mind. Anyway, you know, it was lonely. Ships passing in the night. Well, maybe a few ships passing in the night, but still. Anyway, the men, silly buggers, they couldn't keep their mouth shut, could they? They'd go into work and brag about it. But that's bloody men, isn't it?
Well, I was scared and all, but never mind. Talk about the money.
Money.
You know more than me, I'm sure.
We're all interested in the money.
Oh, for the lack of it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about money. How do you go from tipping up what's left of your wages to handing thousands? Of course, banks come into Corby like sharks. Offshore banks and Irish banks. I was lucky because my husband invested wisely. He bought our house, and when I had my last child, at least I knew it had a roof over its head. Some weren't so lucky, they couldn't keep the payments up. They moonlighted. They took their keys and put them through the estate agent's door and disappeared into the night to start a new life somewhere else. Mind you, it was a godsend to some people. They were able to start their own businesses. They bought taxis, lots of taxis, and they worked on the taxis. And when this new Wonderworld starts, God, everyone will have a job. And it'll be great for the kids. And what about these new factories, these nice new clean factories coming into town? But I miss the old Corby candle. Yeah. It's part of history. It's Corby's history. It's gone. Do you know, my son, when he was 5 years old, when he used to go to the toilet in the night, he used to go back to his bedroom and look out the window at the Corby candle and eventually fall asleep. But I don't miss the dirt. Oh no. When I take my washing in off my line, it's never been so clean.
My man's makeup pay ran out last year.
Go on, go for it, girl.
And he still not had a chance at a decent job. So he's off to Holland, where his mates tell him jobs are 10 a penny. And the pay and the conditions are better as well. Imagine British workers as immigrant labour.
Sign of the times, eh?
Mind you, we were all immigrants at one time, weren't we? Yeah. My daughter's just come back from her travels. And the first thing she noticed was the gold X-Reg Ford Grenadas. And the houses, extensions, porches, conservatories, own front door. Yeah. The town's changing, that's for sure. On the one hand is affluence, and on the other, complete dereliction. Oh dear, does this work?
Yeah, we
You can hear me? Okay. Mind you, in some areas, these areas, people are buying up 2 and 3 houses and converting them into amazing living spaces. And not just them with redundancy money to spare. People are still coming to the town looking for a better life. One man up the Lincoln came down from Glasgow looking for work. 7,000 men on the dole. But he was lucky. Got a job on the buses. And he lived in a caravan. And when he put the money together, he bought up 2 properties in a real no-go area. And he converted it into his own urban palace. To him it was paradise. Brought his family down. He told me he came from Muggers Alley in Glasgow. So, however much we might think that the town's going downhill, it is still as full of opportunity as ever.
In a sweatshop, non-stop rip-off, ain't gonna take no more. Acid and grind, double overtime, stinking fumes all the day. Hands in a rash, trying to earn my cash, burning my life away. Just do the job, don't open your gob, plenty more where you came from. The more you sweat, the less you get. Smethwick, Dundee, Taiwan. Working in a sweatshop, bottom line wages, down on the factory floor. Working in a sweatshop, non-stop rip-off, ain't gonna take no more. £2 an hour, working for the shower, stuck like a dog in a ditch. Non-stop grind, killing my mind to keep this boss man rich. Don't want a union, says it's gonna ruin him. He ain't gonna pay a penny more. He's in clover, in his big rover, that's how the poor stay poor. Working in a sweatshop, bottom line wages, down on the factory floor. Working in a sweatshop, non-stop rip-off, ain't gonna take no more. You ain't gonna get your way. No more enslavement, we're out on the pavement, and we are here to stay. Aggravation, intimidation.
Right, ladies, can I have your attention, please? I've just been speaking to the managing director. Informs me that there is no money for your wages.
No.
And the way this company's going, there's going to be more redundancies.
No way. I've been made redundant 3 times in 5 years. This isn't going to happen to me again.
Hey, ladies. There's some young men out there. They're taking big bits of machinery and they put it in a lorry. Stop them. What, me? Yeah. No, we won't stop them. They're big. Well, what are we going to do? We need to do something. Goodness sakes.
We could run this. Well, I told you, didn't I?
Oh, that's a bloody good idea. Why don't we try that? Running it ourselves.
Why don't we have a sitting?
Yes.
Ladies, There's only 2 of us on the union organisation. How are we going to organise a sit-in with 2 of us? We need more people than that.
Well,
Who's
all
taking
have
notes?
I'll arrange the cleaning rota and I get the food in.
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I'll arrange to get the kids collected from school. That'd be my job.
Yeah,
Right, you are good.
I'll get
I'll
Roger
be with you.
to bring down
Yep.
the radio and the telly.
My man Eric, he does the scouts. I could get bedding in when we have a sit-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anything you want from home, I'll go around and collect it.
Well, you see it. Yeah, if we do that.
So, no, well, first we need to stop these guys from taking our machinery.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll go
If you
and
go
I'll
then,
make sure they
you
don't
do it,
take
do
any
that.
more out. Okay.
I'll help. Yeah.
Right, let's go, shall we?
Let's go. You go. Yeah. Blup, blup, blup. The managing director is still in the premises, girls. He's still in the premises.
Well,
Do that.
Mr. Azimi, why don't we invite Mr. Azimi to
Yes.
take a break?
And yes,
He has never treated us like human beings, never even bothered to strike up a working relationship. Anybody fancy coming with me to kick him out? Right, let's go.
When last week's wages weren't paid, workers say it became clear that the project would fold and that they'd be left without jobs or redundancy money. Today, it's business pretty much as usual, with 2 office staff doing the paperwork and all the 62-strong workforce staying on. Workers are confident that orders will continue to pay their wages, but they're hoping for a buyer to take on them, the machinery and their customers.
The union is confident that the company is viable, and already they say they have had several inquiries about it.
Well, within the last hour, we have been visited, as you've seen, by a prospective employer. I've told him the worst that he could know, because we don't want anybody to be caught by surprise, and he is showing a very keen interest. And currently, we are arranging for the owners of the machinery to rush here now, so that we can arrange a meeting with them.
The workers are convinced that their company can make a go of things. They say all they need is the finance and good management to secure their future.
Because everybody concerned with the factory, and even the past owners are pleased that we did it, because their machinery is safe and nothing's going to leave here without us knowing.
Sing along. Goodbye to Wonderworld. Goodbye to Wonderworld. Goodbye to Wonderworld. Goodbye to Wonderworld.
I thought you'd quit. I have. Well, I'm gonna. I can't get through one of these twilight shifts without a tab break.
Nah, I know what you mean. But see, when I get back to uni, I just can't afford it.
Do you know what? I actually look forward to the break from home, even if I am in a bloody factory.
How is the little one?
Oh, he's so sweet. Bless him, his teeth in. Actually, I think that's just mum speak for being a little sod.
You're right.
Bloody hell, look what the cat dragged in.
All right, Jen, ain't seen you in ages. The Jen Meister is back.
Again.
So you ran out of money then?
Yeah.
What, you think it'd be in this dump if it was flush?
Watch it, some of us work here full time.
Speak for yourself, holidays are quite enough for me, thanks.
So, where have you been this time? Nowhere hot, that's for sure. That's a Corby tan.
Yeah, you're right, I went Iceland.
Oh, my mum goes there every Saturday. They do great meal deals.
How's your mum, Jen?
I remember the first time I went away. It's to a refuge in Wellingborough. It wasn't exactly the trip of a lifetime. I guess it must have stuck with me from an early age. If things get too much, you can just get up and go to a refuge, to another town, and things will be great. For a while. Till he found us. And then it was back to normal life. Back to the reality of a violent alcoholic dad. And a mum who just couldn't cope. But if you go that little bit further, people can't find you. You can be free and do new things. You can be happy Jen, always travelling because she wants to. Not that Jen, with that dad. That Jen who was found in the street in her 90s, looking for a mum. That Jen who's looking for answers to questions that just can't be answered. Oh, I'd rather be travelling than be here. I might want to run out of money. I still see my mum though. I do feel a bit guilty for leaving her, but go straight to the agencies. Work every shift I can get. It's fantastic. There's no loyalty on their part or mine. Then when I get enough money, get out my map, close my eyes, and let fate decide where I'm off to next. Dad bought me that map. And when things were normal. He had a job and we just did normal family things. That was before the steelworks closed. He'd wanted to travel. It closed just as he was about to leave. Grandad needed his support. It was hard for the family to just do life on the dole. I kind of pity him really. He messed up his life. And my mum's. But in a strange way, it sort of forced me to do something with mine. I've experienced so much. This town, it keeps people here. I wouldn't be the person I am if I'd stayed, but I wouldn't be the person I am without it either. I'm going to keep travelling though, till I find somewhere I want to stay. If that means packing chocolates for a few months, then that's what I'll do. So, can you still eat as much chocolate as you want?
Oh, give it a few weeks, love. You won't want any for the rest of your life.
Listen to her. She's eating them all the bloody time.
Shut up.
There's a spirit in this town which comes from the steel, a recipe for resistance. From the ore dug from the bowels of the earth, molten, burned, and beaten into shape. A smooth, shiny, indestructible tube emerges. We take the knocks, the blows, the hammering. The fire rages within. Stops us spitting, except in the crumbs. Some give the knocks, the blows, the hammering. They become famous. Corby. Not for the faint-hearted. The works is gone. No one bothers to tend the steel now. The tubes is always under threat. But the ore remains. And the fire. Give us the right treatment, and we will endure and emerge as the best and most resilient there is. Leave us as the raw stuff, and the alchemy will never tame the rage. Add to that our Celtic roots, race memory of domination, and maybe you'll understand
The Steel Kids.
Why so glum? I'm your chum. Come with me, and you'll see demolition on the go. Corby Town will be on show, with new stores and shops you know and love. And the card shops, well, they'll get the show. A new swimming pool, Olympic size, and a cinema to feast your eyes. New schools by top designers made, and plans for one already laid. New roads, a rail link, buses too, fantastic transport for me and you. New jobs, new homes in eco style. But to build all this will take a while, so tell me exactly what you think, and I'll write it down with pen and ink.
In our reality, clearly on show, what exactly was
An empty town centre,
with nowhere to shop,
some DIY leisure.
There isn't a lot.
A taxi,
The rail link, a bus now and then.
and schools that keep changing.
The question is when.
And some of our houses are being knocked down,
So rich and posh people can move to our town. You ask our views, so yes, we'll play our part. All we ask is, please listen, it comes from the heart.
I try to think whether people in other places have more than I have here in Corby, but I realised I didn't know anyone in a different place in the world. I went to school in Uppingham for a bit, but all the people I knew there were from Corby, so I only know Corby people. I don't mind. I know we don't have a bowling alley, cinema, and buses after 6:30, but Corby is a great place, and I don't care about those things. As long as I have my friends and family, I'll be okay. If I lived in London, I'd have pollution and crime, but here in Corby, we have the woods, the boating lake, and loads of youth clubs to keep us out of trouble. Mind you, if I did live in a different place in the world, I would have a bowling alley, a cinema, and buses after 6:30, and I would have people come and see my town instead of me having to go here and there just for leisure facilities. When I think about it, my parents used to have a bowling alley, a cinema, and buses after 6:30, so why haven't we got them now? What happened? I do have a wish to go to a different place in the world, and I suppose it would be nice to have a bowling alley, a cinema, and buses after 6:30. I wish.
Hello?
Hi Phil, it's me. Guess what?
Who?
It's Jen. Anyway.
Oh, Jen. Haven't heard from you in ages. Thought you'd forgotten me. So how's life in the big city?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's great here. I've been so busy.
Oh yeah, me too, on Thursday.
On Thursday I went shopping in the city centre. I found this great pair of shoes in Primark, but they didn't have my size.
What the hell is Primark?
Oh yeah, they don't have one in Corby. Well, it's a really cool shop. And then yesterday I went swimming.
Oh, swimming, yeah, I went.
And then I went bowling.
Oh, bowling.
And then I went to that Da Vinci thingy.
Oh, the Da Vinci Code, I saw that. Sure it's good.
Well, I didn't really get it, but I suppose it's alright.
Oh.
So what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, I went shopping.
Oh really? Where?
Home bargains.
The future for the people in this town is simple, pre-decided, set in stone. We are destined to long for greater things, while refusing to realise we are trapped.
When I first escaped from Corby, I couldn't hide the joy. The sky was the limit and the world was my toy. But now I've come back down to earth. It's just a different trap.
There's a code in this town, a way of life. Any attempt to improve it is met with resistance, struggle, and strife, and I'll never be free.
This is everything I used to want, but being here has left me overwhelmed and unfulfilled. I thought this was freedom. I was wrong. I'll never be free.
Though I long for crowded streets, flashing lights, good old entertainment, I resign myself to boredom, regret, envy. I love this place despite the flaws.
I may wear a mask to fool the world, but in a second I'd exchange all this for one wasted moment on a forgotten street corner. It sounds like bliss. This is as good as it'll ever be. And I'm stuck here until the end.
I've got to go now, Phil. I'm going ice skating.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
But
Hairdressing. Is that the best there had?
Yeah, but when you think about it, we've become famous.
Famous.
Yeah, like that Nicky Clark bloke or that Alpha Sunni guy.
Yeah, you know him so well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's so famous you can't even remember his name.
Of course I can remember his name.
Okay, I'll give it a go.
Alright, what's in the schedule?
Instructions. Step 1, wash the person's hair.
Wash the person's hair, got it.
You know, this might be easier than I thought.
Very easy.
Okay, you just tip your head back.
I've run out of shampoo.
Just grab one off the shelf somewhere.
Grab one off the shelf.
Whichever you want there.
Yeah. Okay, can you just tilt your head back, please? Thank you very much.
Oh, I can do this. This is so easy.
Yeah.
Proper easy.
Shampoo's a bit itchy, though.
Itchy?
Yeah, itchy.
Which bottle are you using?
This one.
Quadruple strength bleach. Oh my god! Oh, okay. Just colour it back.
Colour it back. Can you tilt your head back, please?
So Just wash it in colour.
Which one?
I don't know, grab one off the shelf.
What colour was the hair?
Ginger.
Ginger, you sure? Okay, got it. Okay, this should take a few seconds. Jen? Jen? It's green!
Aphrodisiac green! Put another colour on,
Okay.
Not the blue one, not the blue one.
Not the blue one.
Not the blue one.
Okay.
Just quick.
Could you tilt your head back, please? Thank you very much. This. Jen.
Oh my God, she looks like toothpaste. Okay, out the way, I'll sort this.
Would you like me to cut your hair while you're waiting? Sure? Okay.
That looks about right. Just kind of... No, actually, don't do anything.
Don't do anything. Interesting on this, isn't it?
Dude, what did you put in? This is taking ages to get out. Oh.
It was the bottle, you said put colour in.
It smells minty fresh, then. Okay. It's alright.
It's alright. Okay.
Okay.
What's
Step
next?
2. Cut the person's hair.
Cut the person's hair. Alright, I've got it. Little bottles involved, just scissors.
Okay.
Where are my scissors? Okay. Jen, now was it above or below the thing?
It was above the fingers. Okay. Deep breaths. Run!
I had dreams too. I wanted to be a graphic designer.
I wanted to work in the music industry.
I had to go to Kettering for that.
Had to go to Northampton for that.
Every day,
On the bus.
I kept being late.
Up at the crack of dawn. Good practice for being on the road.
And Mum and Dad come at pocket money at 16.
I was lucky. I got a bus pass.
So after a year, I dropped out. My turn to find a job. A good job. Not just any job. I had dreams.
There were loads of Corby kids at the start, but most of them dropped out. I was determined to stick it. I knew the music industry was tough, far harder than getting up early every day.
Oh yes, plenty of low-paid agency jobs for 12 weeks at a time. But I wanted the future. If I couldn't be a graphic designer, then I wanted something that would teach me a skill.
I didn't mix with students on other courses. Something about musicians. We hang out together, and there was often band practice on top of the rest of the course. People don't realise the extras involved in music, dance, drama, dedication.
Mum was a stay-at-home mum. Dad was on the buses. They always looked interesting. His mate told me they were looking for apprentice mechanics. I really liked tinkering with the cars.
Worst of all was people trying to shatter my dreams. He's 17 and starry-eyed, one teacher said. Well, that was like a red rag to a bull. Don't try and tell me what I can't do before I even try. You'll never make it, said my stepdad. Get yourself a proper job. His story. He'd wanted to be an actor, but his dad made him get a trade.
So I applied, and I got it. Look at me now. I'm the only girl down the depot, and I love every minute of it. And at the end of it, I have something that I can use anywhere in the world. Yes, I have dreams too.
Throughout it, my mum stuck by me. She took on an extra shift to help pay my way. And she's always singing and encouraging me with my music. She's telling me to follow my dreams, reach for the stars. So I'm still here, every day, on the bus, practicing my rhythms, listening to my music, writing lyrics. And I'll make my dream come true. Watch this space.
Okay, we're listening and we'll take account. Work hard, take risks, and no amount of effort will stand in our way to make for you a better day. We'll make it work, I promise that, and Maggie will not eat her hat. And we believe in Corby Town and will not ever let you down. I still see doubt, that's cool and clear. Just watch this space this time next year.
to the future,
gleaming and bright. Though we've no Corby candle to light up the night, but a chance to improve it, a chance it can grow into somewhere we're proud of, like you used to know. When coming from Corby was no badge of shame, but a proud town of steel, to which everyone came who was looking for work, for a house, for a life, from all over the world, for a break from the strife of communities lacking the things that we had. Looking at it like that, who says Corby's bad? We all hope for the future, so please, get it right, build a town we'll be proud of, rekindle the light that once welcomed all comers to old Corby town. No Wonderworld this time, please, don't let them down. The steel kids of Corby, and all those who are new, would do well to remember what we've all lived through.
Everyone knows everyone else. That's a Mr. Payne who lives in the big house. To those of us who work in their works, be you ever so low or ever so high, meet at the church or the scouts or the hall. And with newcomers coming, we'll all have to try to be welcoming and whatever.